You're watching this because part of you is wondering, am I actually attractive? Or am I just getting older and out of the loop? And if that's you, I want you to breathe for a second. Because here's the truth I've learned after years of listening to men talk about dating, marriage, divorce, confidence, and the quiet insecurities they don't say out loud. A lot of attractive men don't realize they're attractive, not because they're delusional, not because they're fishing for compliments, but because they're measuring themselves by the wrong scoreboard. They're comparing themselves to the loudest guy in the room, the youngest guy on the app, or some highlight reel version of masculinity that doesn't reflect real life. Especially after 35, the definition of attractive gets deeper, more nuanced, and honestly, more forgiving in the best way. It becomes less about being flashy and more about being steady. Less about being perfect and more about being present. So today, I'm going to walk you through signs you're an attractive man even if you don't realize it. And I'm not going to do the surface level, your jawline is strong stuff. I'm talking about the kind of attraction that makes people feel something when you walk away. The kind of attraction that lasts longer than a first impression. And yes, I'll give examples, because I want you to actually recognize yourself in this. Let's start with one of the most overlooked signs. People relax around you quickly. Not everyone, of course, but you'll notice that strangers give you small bits of trust without being asked. They tell you little personal details at the barbershop. The cashier makes a quick joke and looks you in the eye. A colleague confides in you about something that isn't work-related. If you're thinking, that's just friendliness, maybe, but often it's a sign that your presence feels safe. And safety is wildly attractive to emotionally healthy people. A man who feels safe doesn't always look like the loudest man. Sometimes he's the one who listens, who doesn't rush, who doesn't use every silence as a chance to prove something. That steadiness reads as confidence, even if you're quietly unsure inside. A quick example, imagine a woman on a date who's had enough of the showboating. She's not looking for fireworks, she's looking for consistency. When you ask a thoughtful question, follow up on what she said, and don't need to win the conversation, she feels her shoulders drop. She feels like she can exhale. That exhale is attraction. It's not always dramatic, but it's real. Another sign you're attractive is that people give you the benefit of the doubt. You might make a small mistake, and instead of pouncing, people assume you meant well. They interpret your quietness as thoughtfulness rather than awkwardness. They read your seriousness as depth rather than coldness. Now, if you've had a rough season in life, you may not see this as anything. You might even assume they're just being polite. But politeness is usually brief. Benefit of the doubt energy shows up consistently. It means you've built a kind of social credibility, often through how you carry yourself and how you treat people. And if you're the kind of man who thinks, I'm not charming, I'm just respectful, I want to gently tell you something. Respect is charming. Maturity is charming. Emotional control is charming. The older you get, the more calm becomes hot. I know that sounds funny, but it's true. Here's another sign. You get copied. Not in an obvious way. More like people adopt your phrases, your habits, your style choices, your way of approaching a situation. If you've ever noticed someone at work beginning to mirror your communication style, or someone in your circle suddenly dressing a little more like you, that can be a sign of social influence. And social influence is a type of attractiveness. It doesn't mean you're some alpha stereotype. It means something about you feels worth borrowing. Now, let's talk about a sign men often miss because they interpret it incorrectly. Women look at you and then look away quickly. Or they hold eye contact a second longer than necessary and then pretend they weren't. If you're not used to being seen as attractive, you might assume they were judging you, or you might not even notice. But a quick look away is often a caught myself looking moment. And a longer look is usually curiosity. Not always, of course, but if this happens consistently, it's worth considering that you're being noticed more than you think. And I want to address the men who will say, Rachel, I'm 42, no one's checking for me. You'd be surprised. Attraction after 35 can be quieter. People are more subtle because they're more cautious, or because they don't want to come off as forward, or because they've been burned before. So the signals aren't always loud. They're often small. A smile that lingers, a comment that seems unnecessary, a question that's slightly personal, a woman finding a reason to be in your space, even if it's something simple like asking your opinion on something she could easily decide herself. Here's a big one. People remember details about you. You mention you like a specific kind of coffee, and weeks later someone brings it up. You talk about your son's football match, and later someone asks how it went. That's not random. Memory follows interest. Not always romantic interest, but relational interest. And relational interest is the foundation of romantic attraction anyway. If people remember you, it means you made an impression. The kind of impression that sticks. Now, let's go deeper, because I don't want this to turn into a spot the compliment game. The most powerful form of attractiveness for men 35 plus is a competence without arrogance. It's when you handle your life, not perfectly, not like a robot, but you show up. You do what you say you'll do. You fix things when they break. You can make a plan and follow through. You're not always waiting for someone else to lead you. That kind of reliability is magnetic, especially to women who are tired of chaos. Think about it like this. A lot of people can flirt. A lot of people can look good in a photo. But not everyone can be consistent. Not everyone can regulate their mood, apologize without making excuses, and communicate like an adult. If you can do those things, even imperfectly, you are ahead of the pack. And I don't say that to inflate your ego. I say it to give you a more accurate map. Here's another sign. You're the man people introduce to other people. You know what I mean. A friend brings you to a gathering and says, "You've got to meet him," or "He's a good guy," or "This is the one I was telling you about." That's social endorsement. It means people feel proud to be associated with you. And that's a form of attractiveness that isn't dependent on having the body you had at 25. I've watched men improve their dating life dramatically without changing their face, their height, or their bank account. They changed how they presented themselves, how they treated themselves, and how they communicated. They stopped apologizing for existing. They stopped pretending they didn't want love. They learned how to be direct without being intense. They learned how to be warm without being needy. Which brings me to another sign you're attractive. You don't chase validation. If you can enjoy someone's company without trying to win them, that's very attractive. If you can accept a no without turning it into a courtroom argument, that's attractive. If you can disagree without being cruel, that's attractive. If you're emotionally stable enough to not make every interaction a referendum on your worth, that is rare. And rarity creates value.
Let me give you a real lifestyle example. Imagine you're on a date and she mentions her ex. You don't get jealous. You don't interrogate. You don't make a bitter joke. You simply say, "That sounds like it was hard. What did you learn from it?" Do you see how different that is? That response says, "I'm secure. I'm curious. I'm not threatened by your past." That's the kind of man a woman can build with. That's attractive. So if you've been walking around believing you're invisible, I want you to consider a different possibility. Maybe you're not invisible. Maybe you're just not used to being appreciated in the ways that actually matter now. Maybe you've been using an outdated definition of attractive that belongs to a younger season of life. The good news about your age is that you don't need to compete with noise. You can win with substance.
Here's what I want you to do after this video. Pay attention this week, not with paranoia, but with curiosity. Notice who relaxes around you. Notice who smiles. Notice who remembers you. Notice who seeks your opinion. Notice how often you're treated with warmth in small moments. Those are data points, and they matter. And if you're still not sure, let me leave you with this. You don't have to feel attractive to be attractive. You just have to be willing to grow. The most attractive thing about a man over 35 isn't perfection. It's self-awareness. It's the ability to say, "I'm learning, I'm improving, I'm open." That mindset alone can change your entire dating life, your relationships, and your confidence. If you want, in the next video, I'll talk about the quiet habits that make a man irresistible over 35 without trying too hard. Because yes, there are habits, and they're learnable. For now, remember this. If you've been counting yourself out, you might be doing it too early. You might be closer than you think.